Hey everyone, it's Lucid, and I've got an announcement I want to share with you. It's not really my announcement, it's more Clockwork Bot's announcement, and that is that they now support Dominion 6 games. And this is a really big deal because I think it's better than the in-game lobby, even though it's great to have both. I mean, it couldn't be better to have both. So, but there are some features I think that kind of make the Clockwork Bot a little bit better, and I'll talk about what they are. First, I'll pull up the in-game lobby. So the first of all, you can see there's literally a bajillion games here. It's so cool seeing. I'm not sure how many of these are active or whatnot, but there's so many games, and it only shows the first 2,000. So presumably there's a lot more as well. The challenge. So first of all, people are clearly using it, and I like that people are doing like Discord invites and stuff. So if you're a new player and you don't really know what to do, you can like, oh, put this in and it'll take you to a Discord. But yeah, anyway, there's a ton of things. The challenges with this, I think, for like a very serious long form multiplayer game are the first, well, there's basically three. The first is currently mods aren't supported, but that's changing soon as Illwinter's ready, but they're working on it. The second one is it's very difficult to know when your turn's up. You kind of have to check it all the time. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like when like I was first playing Dominions and Discord wasn't around, and we would play like in the Steam lobby, and you would host a game and people would log in, but you'd have to like check your turn every day or like multiple times, and people would like maybe message you in Steam if you were last or something. But yeah, that was tricky. There's probably a lot more staling and people leaving games and stuff in that format. But I still had some good games in that format. Likewise, I'm sure there are a lot of people having really good games right now. But not being able to have turn reminders is kind of an issue. The final issue is that I don't think, and I may be wrong about this, but I don't think other players can add time to games. I think you need the host to do it. Which makes sense. Like, you kind of basically need a host to do it in Discord. Like, not any player can just add time, because you could get weird things. Like, people could abuse that very quickly if everybody could do it. Like, it'd be very easy to ruin a game. However, we have, like, admins who can add time for anybody. And I don't think there's a way to translate that to this. Like, you know, for the turn reminders, you could actually do something like Steam notifications. There's a game, Solarium Infernum or something, that has like kind of long form turn-based games. And every time it's your turn or a new turn rolls, you'll get a notification. I don't know if they have it like, hey, there's an hour till the turn rolls. You haven't submitted. Here's a notification the same way the Discord bots do. But presumably those things are possible, and you can disable it. You don't have to have Steam notifications, because the other thing about Steam notifications is they're sort of the devil. You get messages that you can't hide. They're from some stupid item you didn't want, or like some achievement or something. Lord knows, the Steam notifications are horrible, but it's better than nothing. And having turn notifications is really nice. So yeah, while you could potentially integrate that into the network lobby, probably be a little tricky to do. There's not really the equivalent, I don't think, you can do for adding time. You'd have to have like some global admin, you would ask, and Lord knows, I mean, who would want to be global admin of this many games? So the way it's kind of distributed, I think, through all the different Discord servers, where each of the Discord servers have, several admins, and then even more like GMs, basically, that are managing multiple games, and then dozens of hosts. I think that's probably a better system, but I think it's good to have both. It's really good to have both. But importantly, the Discord bot, Mr. Clockwork, or Clockwork Hounds, it is now supporting Dominion 6. So we do get to have both. So yeah, the features now, I'll come back. The features of using Mr. Clockwork are numerous. It's easy to host games. You have to have a trusted role on one of the Discord servers that host Dominion's games. So there's the Clockwork Hounds Discord, where there's usually really good games. There's the Immersion server, which used to be tailored to new players. I would say now it's a pretty big mix of skill level, but they have like mentors and things. There's my server, which I like to think is full of sweaty tryhards. But no, we have games of all different levels. And then there's the Reddit Dominions. The Reddit Dominions tends to have a lot more heavily modded content. You can find all sorts of games on any server anyhow, but you need a trusted role on one of these servers. And my server, the trusted role is called game host, but on any of the servers, it could be whatever it is. And most servers will just kind of give it to you if you're not like a fresh new account. So a lot of times you'll want to play at least one game with somebody else hosting. And if you do that and are not too big of a clown, you just ask for it, and pretty much all the servers will give you a trusted role. And then you can host the game. So you come to mrclockwork.net, you put in your game information, you make a master password, you fill all this out. I could go through and explain all this. It's not that complicated. It's basically the same options you get in-game for making a new game. And then you make your game. And then in whichever of these Discord servers you're hosting it, there will be a channel made, and the people will come to that channel and sign up. And then once it's done, like the game is signed up in full, you'll start the game and it'll move to like the current game section. And then you play the game and you'll get turn reminders and all these things. It's a ton of fun. So anyway, this is how this works. The other thing that's really nice about this is we have mod support. So this is such a really nice feature. Whether you're doing a comp stomp with your buddy, like sometimes you and your friend just want to play a multiplayer game together, that is the sort of thing, especially if y'all are going to do it on a weekend. The easiest thing might be to use the in-game lobby, right? You don't have to bother with getting a trusted role or anything. You can just set up your own game. Your buddy can join it, and you go off and play. There will be mod support for the lobby when Illwinter is ready for it, but I think it will be soon. And then you'll be able to do kind of modded content for that. But I think and I'm going to go through probably in a few minutes what I think good single player mods are. Yeah. So, but yeah, you can do that now. Or I think there's a lot of mods that also make like multiplayer a lot better, like improved casting AI or my thematic gym gen. And you can do that now. So I'm really excited about this too, because I feel like with Dominions, there's so many different community tools that, like, even if Dominion 6 is way better than Dominions 5, if Dominions 5 had a lot of tool support, like once you first make the switch to Dominion 6, like people are porting over mods, people are porting over a bunch of things. I still have things I have to port. I have maps I want to make. I have all sorts of stuff I need to do that I haven't been getting on with. But as those things start to port, then Dominion 6 starts getting even better, So it's like, if Dominions 5 was like this good, and Dominion 6 was like this good, but the tools that made Dominions 5, like all the surrounding mods and tools, were like this good, maybe it made them about the same. But once all those tools have ported over, then Dominion 6 is going to be way better. So, yeah. So that it's really exciting that this is coming. This is I think one of the big things that's going to make Dominion 6 just a ton more fun to play. So a celebration of this event, I'm going to host probably like 4 or 5 games on my server and start getting people fired up about multiplayer again. And now I'll just show you if you want to do a comp stomp with your buddy, I'm going to go through and show you which mods I like. Okay. So I'm actually going to go in order of importance, I think. I think probably one of the most important mods for making single player fun is community memes. Having well thought through pretenders or silly builds that you fight against is really fun. Having made it was a ton of fun to make. These aren't my builds. Like 90% of them are from other people. And we'll keep updating it. We haven't had a lot of updates recently, but I think there've been like 6 updates so far as pretenders roll in. Maybe we'll do another big push in a few months, but this is great. To go with this, and I think you should generally do them both, but I'm glad they're separate. I don't think they should be combined into one mod, is this one. AI Automatic Divine Blessing. This basically makes it, one of the problems the AI has is they're very bad about blessing their sacreds. And this makes it so that every commander will always bless their sacreds. But they can't do things like spam smite, so it doesn't make all of their commanders Holy 3, which would be like overpowered. It makes all of their commanders have an item, which at the beginning of combat does Divine Blessing. And there's no way players can like loot that item or get it and thereby kind of abuse it. So it's a great mod that goes really well together with community memes, because you have kind of well thought through or silly, builds, and then they're actually getting used by the AI. So this is a great combo. Highly recommend this. Is definitely going to make the game more difficult without necessarily just increasing the number of units the AI will throw at you. Though you can certainly do that as well by upping the difficulty. The next one is going to be extra starting armies. The AI can fail to expand. And it's this mod right here, second starting army for AI nations. The AI does have trouble expanding. I've done a fair number of tests, and even on like normal difficulty, it would be pretty common for them to get like 6 provinces in the first year. Up at impossible, they start doing better, but they can still struggle, even on really high difficulty settings. And that makes for like a really weird thing where like you get really big at the beginning because the AI kind of fails to expand, but then the AI is still getting like 3 times as much money as you. So yeah, I think this balances it out more. This maybe lets you take a lower difficulty setting, but then so you're not going to have quite the huge, enormous wave of troops you have to fight as the game goes on. But the AI will expand properly. Like, you don't have to increase the difficulty setting quite as much so that the AI actually can expand. And by the way, these things also help. Community memes and Divine Blessing also help a bit with expansion. So these go really well together. And then going with this is the starting... By the way, these mods were made by Somber. Shout out to him. These were really good ideas. Starting resource bonus for AI nations. This will give the AI cap a site that gives them 1,000 resources. So they can make high quality units really quickly early. And it only lasts for 12 turns. So after 12 turns, it goes away. It's not like a permanent bonus. It's just for helping them with expansion. While this does help, it does not help nearly as much as it would help a player. Like if a player got this, they would have like crazy good expansion. The AI just sort of gets like a couple more provinces with it. But it really does help them get out of kind of the stink phase at the beginning. And once the AI gets going after turn, like, well after turn 12, they're going to be rolling around with armies of like 200 or 300. It's not going to be very hard for them to like fight you or to, take over indies, certainly after a point. So this helps it get through the slump at the beginning. These are really good. I also really recommend, especially for single player, but also for multiplayer, Trusty Research. This is a mod made by, let's see if it has it wasn't made by me. I forget the exact name of the person, but I've got a video on it. It's a really good mod. Basically, it lets you choose your starting research, which I think opens up a lot of fun builds. And coming up with fun builds is one of the fun things about the minions. So this opens up the early game. You could maybe do Thug expansion. You could do Mage supported expansion. You could do Mage only expansion. You can have special things for your gods, and this is going to let gods that couldn't expand start to expand. Like you could start with personal regen. Bunch of really cool things with Trusty Research. Highly recommend this one for single player. The AI gets it too, so they can choose what they're going to research. They won't make as good a use of it as you will, but yeah, still whatever the priorities that the AI has, it'll follow. Worthy Heroes is a classic. You just kind of put this one on by default. Nothing more needs to be said about that. This one, Extra Starting Priest, you don't really need this one if you have Automatic Divine Blessing, but if you don't want to do Automatic Divine Blessing, this can help the AI a little bit at the beginning bless its starting armies. But I don't think you need to do both. I would probably just put this one on. But this is something to consider. This was also made by Somber. It's really nice. Then I would recommend putting on one of the improved casting AI mods, like the single player version. When you get it, it's going to come with the 1.0 and a 1.01. Just use the 1.01. For multiplayer, do the one without SP. For single player, or if you're doing like you and your buddy versus some computers, you probably want to do single player, and this lets the AI cast battlefield-wide spells that otherwise they would be banned from casting. So, but it still is going to prioritize other spells. So this is a good one to have, so you'll put that on. And then I recommend also My Thematic Gym Gen. This helps to reduce gym micro in single player, but it also deals with some very toxic gym baiting possibilities in multiplayer. So this is good. Also a shout out to Sturm's mod Sprite Overhaul. This is a fun one to get. Basically, it's going to do new sprites for almost everything in the game. Some of them are way better than the sprites, I think, that are in the base game. Some of them are the same, but kind of different looking. And a few of them I think are probably worse, but I would say on average they're probably a bit better than the vanilla sprites. But they look a lot different. Sometimes they're more visually distinct where it's easier to tell between units that are similar, and that's nice. But they're also so different that if you've been playing Dominions for a long time without it, then it's like very confusing the first time you put it on. So anyway, and I think that's it. Yeah, those are the mods I would recommend. So to go through it again, community memes, AI auto divine blessing, improved casting for single player if you're playing single player, and then Lucid's thematic gem gen, a second starting army for AI nations, starting resource boost for AI nations, and trusty research and worthy heroes. One more thing I'll mention is when you're starting out a game and you make some map or something. One thing I would really mention is this thing I've never paid any attention to this before, but the AI type being random, I would recommend changing it to either standard or defensive. You could have it on aggressive. The AI just kind of goes hog wild then and attacks you like the end of the first year. And often you can get in like 3v1s doing this. What I would really recommend, don't do random, because then you don't know what you're going to get. And like a game with all aggressive and they all just attack you at the end of the first year, you're like, okay, I quit. I think it kind of sucks. Standard, I think it's around turn 20, maybe, that they start declaring wars. Though you can certainly declare war sooner, but you could also do defensive. Maybe a mix of standard and defensive would be fun. But I don't think aggressive, I don't know. It can be fun, I guess, but you also just can get in like a 3v1. You can get out of wars now. And the diplomacy, I'll just go and say, the diplomacy in single player, because I've played a few games now, is great. I feel like you're basically able to get into and out of wars that you want. Sometimes the AI will attack you when you don't want to, and you can't get out of wars right away. So I think it strikes a pretty good balance. Yeah, it's really good. It's one of the things I think that makes single player way more enjoyable. Such that this isn't as important as it used to be, probably, but still pretty good. I'd still recommend putting it on standard for everything rather than random. Even if you want a more aggressive experience, or if you want a more aggressive experience, put it on aggressive. I don't think random's necessarily good. Okay, so the difficulty, I think for starting like your first game, normal is totally fine. Normal is actually going to be pretty hard if you don't know what you're doing. Once you're a vet, I think mighty is really good for like just testing things, because the AI is going to have more resources than you by a good margin, but they're not going to be using them super well, and as well as a human will. But it kind of balances out where they're still offering resistance, like significant resistance, but the things that you can do against humans will still sort of work against this AI. Like once you start getting to impossible, you're starting to fight these huge types of armies you would never have to fight as a human versus human at that point in the game. So yeah. Anyway, those are kind of difficulty recommendations. I think going from normal and then working your way up to mighty is a great goal for starting the game. Once you understand things really well, it's fun to play against the impossible later, but you're usually having to do like pretty cheesy things to eke out wins. But I had a lot of fun playing impossible my last game. So yeah, I think that's it. One final thing is that Drithel and Pencils, who host and maintain the Clockwork Bot, mostly Drithel, but Pencils also does just a tremendous amount. They do this basically for free. It's an amazing service they provide. There are actual hosting costs with hosting all the games for this wonderful game, Dominions. So they have to, pay for those. And they've got a Patreon page. You don't have to be a Patreon to use their bots, which is angelic of them. But I'm a Patreon supporter of them. I think if you play games regularly, it's polite to do it. There's a lot of membership tiers. You can just do $2 a month. Or you can go to $3 a month. You get to pick. Anything helps. But don't feel the need to do it if you can't afford it. There's no guilt in using the bot if you aren't a member. Don't feel guilty about it. But you know, if you have the means to and you use it a lot, like Lord knows, I've probably played 50 games on the Clockwork Bot for thousands of hours and sent Drithel various messages at times needing all sorts of support. So yeah, if you use it regularly, yeah, go ahead and show these guys some support. I'll put a link to the Drithel's Patreon here in the description. But yeah, don't feel like you have to. And if you don't play multiplayer and don't use the bot, don't feel like you have to. But yeah, if you are feeling generous, throw them a bone. And yeah, so super stoked on my Discord. I'll also have a link to that in the description. I'm going to go ahead and host probably a few different games. I'll probably put 4 up today, and then I'll host several more games over the next couple weeks, just so there's a lot of games for people to join. So see you guys there. Cheers.